Whenever I take on a role with the company, the company and what they're building in their DNA has to resonate with me. And for me, it hit home because of what I went through with my brother who has a lot of seizures. And what Axon was doing, what Axon's doing is basically taking your health data and putting it on chain.
What's up, world? It's your boy Ross Mack, and welcome to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance. And look, guys, no matter where you are on your financial journey, you can never stop learning. And that's why each and every week I'm bringing you some of the GOATs, some of the wisest people in this space. And this week is no different, as I'm bringing on Tristan Thompson, NBA champion and Web3 entrepreneur. Tristan, how you doing, baby?
Appreciate it, Ross. Thanks for having me on, man. I like that intro. By the way, this is one of the more, like, I could tell you got mad, you're from the shy, so you got a little edge. So this is more like it feels like a more relaxed and like we're gonna talk that talk like we're in the barbershop.
That's what this is about, bro. You know, I'm from the south side of Chicago, used to work on Wall Street. So all our conversations gonna feel like we right at the crib. And so first convo, right, I gotta let it be known. Obviously, you are, a extremely storied NBA player, but like day one, man, when you got your NBA contract, what do you think was your worst purchase and your best investment?
It was probably not a bad purchase. It was just a bad spending event. So I remember after the summer league, my rookie season, we went to One Oak in Vegas, and I think I spent this is back then where you didn't know, so this is like bottle service times, like early bottle service days. So I'm at One Oak, and the bill was like $30,000, but I didn't know it was $30,000 because obviously when you get the first two bottles in Vegas, the bottle service, they're like, you're running out of liquor. Do you want to get some more? I'm like, yeah, get some more. But I'm not even I'm used to at other spots and other nightclubs, they'll be like, hey, your tab is at this, your tab's at that. But they just kept running up the check. And I remember I was sending people bottles. I remember sending Derek Williams, who's number 2 pick at the time, a bottle. I remember sending PG a bottle. And next thing I get the bill and I sign it and whatever. I'm not even paying attention. Next morning, my financial advisor called me. He said, man, you had a great night last night. I said, hell yeah, it was a good time. He said, it was so good. It was 30,000 good. I said, oh, wow. So I was like, so that was probably you charge it to the game, but then that's what you got to learn for these young fellas. And people that are going out and having a good time is always check with the bottle service person what my tab is after every order. It's crazy. It was, but you know what? I think that's good to happen especially when you first get into whatever career path you are, where you start making some real money. It's good to have that experience because it's almost like a reality check, right? Like kind of you say back home where your mom whoop you in the shape, you get your mind right. Yeah, and then
Vegas will sneak up on you. I had one of those experiences. It wasn't 30,000, but I could assure you I'd have had one of those where you had to look twice at the bill. Like what? It's one of those though. And your best investment, from your early days in the league.
Early, I'll say I basically bought a property in Toronto to put my mom in. So when I got drafted, that same day I retired my mom from working. She was a school bus driver in Toronto. So I retired her and I bought her a crib. I bought her a place in Toronto. And then probably 2 years later, I flipped out of it, made a 2.5x on the money. So I made a great profit. That was a quick 2-year flip. So that was probably a good early investment gain. And then probably my biggest one so far was the drink, the drink called Papi. It's sold to Pepsi for billions of dollars. So I got in Series A back when they first started, when the family was living in Austin, Texas. So I put 5 figures in and I walked out the door this summer with 7 figures. So that was a good investment turnaround. Yeah.
God is good, bro.
All the time.
I'm waiting on something to IPO early Q1 next year. I'm hoping it's supposed to be something like that. So we shall see. I'm hoping, but man, congrats on that.
God willing, it's gonna happen. Speak it to existence.
That's a fact. And you know what I love is hindsight 2020, right? And if everybody could go back, they would have did this or did that, right? And you've been vocal about you wish you had taken your salary in Bitcoin in 2015, right? So let's talk about that. One, how much do you think that would be today? But more importantly, what lessons did you learn from that?
Okay, so for me, when I did the calculations, if I took my 5 or $82 million deal, if I put that all into Bitcoin, I would have been, I've been up, $250 billion. Reality is I would have not put my whole contract in, maybe. So this is the funny thing. And this is how crazy, like, how like the journey and like God works, right? Like, so back in 2015, around the same time I signed my deal, a good friend of mine from back home, his name was Shadow. He was telling us, me and my boys, he said, hey, if you're gonna go out or if you're gonna go to Louis and spend $4,000 or $3,000 on stuff that you there's no novelty behind it, there's no life expectancy, right? Like if you're just paying for a good time, like a vacation or going out to the nightclub, right? If you're gonna spend $4,000, $5,000, he's like, yo, take that 5,000 and buy Bitcoin back in 2015. And we were listening to him, I'm like, that sounds cool. And then in the time, we're like, that's not even a lot of money, $5,000, like, and not to sound like desensitized, like, of course it's a lot of money, but in terms of like spending that at a nightclub or spending it on a potential runway, right message, wrong deliverer, right? Because you have those friends you grow up with that, it's like the barber, right? Your barber always has the next $1 million play, but you're like, if you have this play, why aren't you doing it yourself? So, you know what I'm saying? Like you could, I
That's a
guarantee you
fact.
right now, you could name 5 people right now that have been giving you these kind of advice. You're like, bro, why don't you take it, right? So, for me, right message, wrong deliverer, and then come to finding now, like looking now, back now we're in 2025 and now I'm in the space and now I'm holding Bitcoin and now I'm in this Web3. Imagine if I just did that back then, did this
Yeah.
conversation, we might be doing this while I'm on a yacht in south of France instead of me being in my office in LA.
Bro, I could assure you the early adapters to crypto was like, to your point, right message, wrong messenger. Like there's a lot of people that was buying Bitcoin, they was doing shady stuff, right? They was on the dark web. And so the people that was knowing about Bitcoin, you like, bro, what? I'm working on Wall Street. I'm broke on with that. But to your point, hindsight 2020. So I appreciate that. Let's actually fast forward now to kind of your crypto. You said this year, correct me if I'm wrong, you said when it come to crypto, right? If you was explaining to somebody, you say Michael Jordan is Bitcoin, Bron is Ethereum, Steph Curry is XRP, and KD is Solana. Break that down for me, bro.
The reason why I'm in this space that I've really gravitated toward this space is because there's that bridge the gap moment, right? And I think even in sports, I always like to correlate stuff to sports, right? There's a point in time in your career, you go from being, the top 3 option to now you get to your later years and you become kind of the veteran voice and you become the bridge the gap between the coaches and the players, right? In sports, when you have the game is getting younger, right? So, and the coaches are getting older. So you need that guy in the middle to bridge the gap between the two. And it's no different than in crypto, right? So for me, whenever I'm explaining stuff, I always like to use analogies that people can understand and grasp, right? At the end of the day, Bitcoin is like the OG, right? It's the first ever digital asset. It's the one that has the biggest backing. It's the one that everyone knows about. So I use Michael Jordan as an example, right? The guy that kind of revolutionized the NBA and take the NBA from being $100 million business to being $1 billion business, right? So that's why I use him as Bitcoin. Bron, I use him as Ethereum because he's, in my eyes, I use Brown's to go to my eyes, but just out of paying respect for the older people, I said Brown's Ethereum, right? He's the next best thing. And then XRP, I use as Steph Curry because he's just as great and he has such a huge market cap and Americans love him, which Americans love XRP. So I just use him as an example. And then obviously Solana, KD, where people can understand the tiers, right? So I just always like when I'm educating people about Web3 and crypto to be able to dumb it into a scenario where they can grasp, because what's the problem in the space in crypto? These guys, these are great founders, great minds, but the problem is that they explain things in such a high level tech vocabulary, which how human beings are psychologically. If you use words I don't understand, I'm going to tune you out because I feel like you're belittling me as a person. So for me, whenever explaining stuff, I like to explain it like I'm talking to my cousin or my auntie, right? Because that's what this whole thing's about, mass adoption,
No. I think I actually love the analogy. I was actually trying to force your hand to see if you was actually just saying Jordan is better than your boy. That's all. I'm a Chicago.
No, Bron better. Bron better, but I'm just saying, you from Chicago,
gonna
so
hold
I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you.
I'm not gonna hold it
Chicago.
against you. You've been misguided, you know what I'm saying? But you a good person, you know what I mean? So I promise you, I'm not gonna hold it against you. But honestly, now that we talking sports, right? I actually tip my hat to you because you're doing something remarkable, right? The intersection of sports, blockchain, and AI. You got to talk to us about Tracy AI. Let the people know what Tracy AI is and more importantly, what you think the vision for it is.
So Tracy AI is basically an AI agent that I created, which is basically imagine a sports analyst or commentator on steroids. What I mean by that is that having all the high-level analytics that you cannot get from NBA.com and ESPN, which the analytics are coming from the professional teams. Like, we have certain data and access to certain companies that only professional sports teams have access to. And I was able to be able to pull that data with my resources and be able to put into an AI agent. The reason why I did that is because I noticed that AI is taking over so many sectors, whether it's the music industry, which is obviously caused some crazy controversy with AI, whether it's in art and digital art, whether it's people trying to find jobs. If you look right now, Amazon is using AI agents to see who qualifies for jobs. I'll give you another example. A law firm, a very prestigious law firm here in California, has actually hired and created an AI agent to be basically their bookkeeper and their basically automated assistant, like front desker, where they basically answer the call, have full conversations, take bookings, meetings, and really almost substituting that front desk girl and make it an AI agent. So for me, it's like, if it's covering so many sectors, how come it hasn't got into sports? And for me, it was like, okay, this is low hanging fruit, and this is an opportunity where I can be a visionary and a pioneer. Because at the end of the day, from my upbringing, being from Toronto, making it to the NBA, I had to grind for my success. And it's no different now. I've always had this grind builder mentality. So it migrated so easily into the Web3. And, if you look at Daryl Morey, he said he used AI agents to curate his Sixers roster. Mind you, the record wasn't great, injuries and so on, but that just shows you that's the first domino effect into something great.
That's epic, right? I think, not only is it commentated, but it sounds as though you're going to also be able to leverage it for the sports gambling world at some point. They might not just have to pay the Jonte Porters of the world. They might be able to, do it on the up and up. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to have more with the NBA champ and Web3 entrepreneur, Tristan Thompson. All right, guys, welcome back to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance. And look, man, we're talking with the Tristan Thompson. So, Tristan, you already know, man, I'm going to have to go ahead and get a little lightning round so you can catch you off guard all the way, right? You need a bucket. Right now, you need a bucket. 10 seconds. Who should have the ball? Is it Kyrie or Bron?
Oh, Kyrie. It's fast, right? You want me to answer quick? Kyrie. You saw he did the finals.
Keep going.
You saw Game 7, the step back.
He was the savior that year. That's a factory. All right, Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Bitcoin.
Jordan or Bron?
Bron, come on now. You already talk to me nice when you say this. Come on now.
All right, I see behind you, you got Muhammad. So, Muhammad or Floyd?
Come on, Ali. Ali, the greatest.
All right. And then the next one, obviously you're from Canada, so I need to know if this is a Canada team. UK rap or American rap?
American rap. I know the boy. I know Drizzy was saying UK rap, but I just can't agree with that. It's American rap all the way. It's the culture.
Yeah,
Come on now.
That was honestly egregious. I won't hold that against him though. And then lastly, AI or blockchain. If you had your last dollar and you had to invest it in AI technology or blockchain, which one is it going to be?
You see what Mark Zuckerberg's paying for all these AI gurus, so I might go AI.
It's heavy. It's heavy, man. What I find interesting when you think about investing, right, like especially when you came into the league, the typical portfolio is stocks, bonds, and real estate. Now, right, like the typical portfolio has to be stocks, crypto, real estate, and a few little bonds. And so like, as we talk about kind of your world into blockchain, et cetera, I really want to get a sense of kind of like what your vision is, especially when it comes to kind of blockchain and the way you could utilize it when it comes to either education or healthcare. I know you spoke about that in the past.
Yeah, no, I think the blockchain and crypto, it's the future of finance, right? I think, like you said, the world is changing, and it's no different than, depends how old you are, whether it's the gold rush way back in the day on the West Coast or the early .com era. That's exactly the era that we're in right now with the crypto and blockchain. And from the health side, it's a huge thing. You know, I've been very fortunate to have a chief officer role with Axon. The reason why this health company is very dear to my heart is because my brother Amari, he has epilepsy, and really for me in this space, whenever I take on a role with a company, the company and what they're building in their DNA has to resonate with me. And for me, it hit home because of what I went through with my brother who has a lot of seizures. And what Axon was doing, what Axon's doing is basically taking your health data and putting it on chain. And the reason why I think that's important is because when you go to the hospital and you're in Chicago, when you go to Rush Hospital and you log in and you put all your information, Rush owns your data, right? So if you're on vacation with your family, and let's say you're in the UK and something happens, in order for the doctor to have access to your data or your health chart, they're gonna have to contact Rush, which is gonna be a headache, time difference, getting a physician on the phone, getting it transferred, email. That whole headache is kind of the so old school, early 90s mentality. And what I love about what they're doing and putting it on chain is that you should be able to have your access to your health data at the palm of your hands. Because God forbid if something happens, or even in general, for us to find groundbreaking solutions to people's health, whether it's my brother with epilepsy, or if it's cancer, or it's PTSD, all these health issues that affect your loved ones and humans' lives, every physician should have access. Because, for instance, there might be a doctor in Tanzania that's able to find a cure for my brother's seizures, but he doesn't have that access to my brother's charts because these centralized hospitals are containing them. And it's almost like the modern day mafia, where they're basically controlling you. And basically, we're only going to give you what you want. It's almost like the Mad Max mentality. If you ever watch Mad Max, the movie, when the ruler opens the fountain and just gives the people water, he's like, I'm just going to feed you as much as I want, then I'm going to cut you off, right? And the one thing I love about the blockchain is that we're giving humans back control of our rights. And that's what I love about the space.
You know, what's interesting that you brought that up, right? Like, my dad needs a kidney. And so by definition, blockchain democratizes everything and removes all middlemen. So, like, in order to get a kidney, right, you got to be on a list, and technically the deciding person, not as the person that's given up their kidney, but it's the hospitals, and that's whether it's politics, etc. So I do believe that the blockchain has the ability to effectively kind of take that, take it and actually evolve that entire landscape, and obviously, education as well. I respect that view. And so, like, you and I are both parents, right? In fact, I got a children's book back here that we'll have our people talk to your people and shoot one over to
Please
you.
send to me. Please send to me. You got to send it to me.
No, that's a fact. It's called the ABCs of Future Millionaires. But as a parent, right, how important is talking about financial literacy to your kids?
Well, it's very important. I mean, Ross, think about our upbringing as kids, right? You're from Southside Chicago. I'm from Toronto, and we're both from underprivileged communities. Listen, at the end of the day, how are we given our education? It was not until, for myself, making an MBA, and for yourself, probably once you got to college, or, like that, you started probably educating yourself. Our communities, we're not taught about finance, because the people that we grow around, they don't understand that stuff. And for me, as a parent, it's our duty to pay it forward and start helping our community understand that. Because what's the biggest tragedy or the saddest stories that you hear as athletes? These guys make a lot of money at an early age, and you trust a guy who's not from your walk in life, does not look like you. Most of them don't have our skin tone, don't understand our life. And what do? Take advantage of us and put us in situations where we made this money, but then when it's all said and done, we got nothing to show for it because we've been misguided because a total stranger we gave full control to, right? So for me, that's my biggest goal and mission. Is I've always been the guy in the locker room giving the financial literacy. So not just as a teammate, but as a parent, because I truly believe that my daughter will probably purchase her first car or home with Bitcoin. So it's our duty to educate them at an early age so they understand the value, the intrinsic value of this, and why it's so important.
So I love that, right? I talk to my kids every morning as I'm driving them to daycare about what's going on in the markets, whether it's personal finance stuff or stocks, and obviously we talk a lot about crypto. But it's important. The biggest thing you said was like educating our people, and that kind of segues to my next question, which is your new venture with New World Mobile gig, right? Like, at the end of the day, right? What is it? 1/3 of the world doesn't have access to the internet. So when we talk about the internet and how important it is to democratize and access to information, like, how important is kind of what you're working on with them?
With World Mobile, it's the team is great. Need being able to be a chief content equity advisor, and obviously these roles are all good. These titles are great, but it's about the mission, right? The mission. The reason why I gravitate towards them is because what they're building is basically giving people back their freedom in the telco world, right? Like think about this right now. These big conglomerates, whether it's Verizon, T-Mobile, or AT&T, they literally can spy on our phones, read what we're talking about, literally take our rights away as human beings and spy on us, which is ridiculous and crazy when you think about it. So the reason why I gravitate towards World Mobile is because they're basically saying we're going to let people reclaim their power in the telco space. But also what they're doing in the community from a philanthropist and give back is that they have gone to areas like Zanzibar, Kenya, Pakistan, and they have set up these internet access points, which also the cool thing about it is that they're allowing people in these communities become young entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is that you can basically purchase one of these Wi-Fi or air nodes, which provides connectivity. You could put it in your community. And as your community starts to onboard and join the network, you can make rewards off that. And that's great. That's an entrepreneur mindset where these conglomerates, you're paying AT&T and you don't get $1 back. AT&T have no foundations. They don't do no give back program. They don't do nothing to help the community. They just extract from us human beings and give nothing back. But with World Mobile, they're saying, hey, we're going to build this network, but we're going to also allow you the opportunity to make rewards and where you can use that money to give back to community. You could build back your communities, right? And when I think about that and that DNA is that's what athletes are about, right? Our communities are everything. That's why we always do these community events. And when I think about it, it's like East Cleveland. If you ever been in East Cleveland, it's a forgotten spot in Cleveland. Nobody cares about it. They have like probably 2 police officers. It was a very successful area back in the early 2000s. Obviously, when drugs and crack cocaine epidemic happened, it really teared down those communities. So for me, it's like, why not be able to find these young entrepreneurs and allow them to be bosses in the community where they can provide connectivity in these areas, but use that money that they make to reinvest, build courts, build after school programs. Like that's my mindset and that's World Mobile's mindset. And for me, those are the type of people that you want to be in business with and grow something special with.
That's remarkable, man. My dog, Tristan Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, more than a hooper, my dog, a visionary. Tristan, man, it's nothing but love. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Much love to you. You know what I'm saying? We only got one
Ross,
flaw,
appreciate it,
just
man.
our vision on who to GOAT. But, we once again, we ain't going to hold that against you, baby. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode. We want to give a huge shout out to Tristan for coming on. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell your auntie and her cousin to also like and subscribe, share this. And until next week, this is Ross Mack on Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.